everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, it's going to be a bit of a different video, and if I'm not sure, I probably maybe have or haven't released a video about fish before. Yes, I have pet fish. I think I have maybe 1-2 videos about fish, but in today's video, it's going to be talking about fish keeping tutorial for beginners. Let's start. So, how do you take care of your pet fish properly? Let's dive into this video. This video is going to be a bit long, but if you enjoy it, please give it a like and subscribe. Okay, first thing you're going to want to do with any type of aquatic animal, fish, including crabs, axolotls, or water snails, whatever creature that lives in water for most of its life, will need acclimating. So what is acclimating, you ask? Acclimating is pretty much like in these two pictures in front of you. Acclimating is pretty much getting your fish or whatever you have adjusted to the temperature of your tank or its new environment, or different pH level, or many others. So acclimating, mostly you're gonna want to do it with when you first buy your fish, or if you already have fish, you might be moving them into a new tank, or moving into a new home, or pretty much do it every time you're gonna change its habitat. And you can do it two ways. One is put them in a bag, or if they do come in a bag already, all you have to do is put the whole bag with the fish and its water into the tank or pond, whatever you're gonna put it into the tank or pond for at least, I say, a minimum of 20 minutes. That is a minimum, but I would say at least 25, and can be up to like an hour or two. But I'm gonna warn you guys, if you have them in a bag, don't leave them more than like 3-4 hours, because the oxygen in there will not last that long. Or if you want a bit more safety, if you have, put them in a container. In this case, you can see here in the picture on the right, they are in a bucket. And if you have, take a little aerator or a little air pump, and then shove that in there. And if you have a bucket, pour the fish into the bucket, and then all you gotta do is take a small container, I say like just a cup, like a normal size cup water cup, and scoop some water from the tank or pond that you will be putting your fish in, and scoop about 1 or 1.5, not too much, of the tank water, and pour it into the bucket with the fish. And then just leave them for at least minimum of 20 minutes. 20-30 minutes is pretty good before putting your fish in. And I'm gonna warn you guys, if you guys don't put your fish into acclimating before putting them into the pond or tank, pretty much there's a high chance that the next hour or two, or the next day, you ended up with dead fish. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Next is tank size. Mostly if you are a beginner, you will need to pay attention. If you're not and you know about this, you can skip ahead from this part. Tank size. You guys, beginners, might be wondering, okay, you're gonna have pet fish, and if you're gonna take tank size, what tank size is the best? Okay, this depends on many factors. One is the size of your fish. Two is the living space. If you live in a house, do you have enough room? Or if you live in an apartment, you might not be able to get a large tank. But mostly this depends on the species and size of your fish. Okay, let's start on the left. I put 25 because this here is a picture of a 25-gallon fish tank. This tank is, I say 25 is like the very minimum for mostly any type of fish. 25 gallon is a really small minimum. Like, this might not be forever home if you have like mini fish, or if they are small fish, maybe it will only work if you keep small fish in a small group or keep them solo in a 25-gallon tank. This will do. This size of tank, I say, would work for small fish like guppies, mollies, platies, and other small sized fish. That's within the length of, I say, 2 to 4 inches will be just fine in a 25-gallon. But this is not the best size tank that I personally would recommend. But if you have a small space, or if your fish is just a baby, then yeah, go ahead and start with just a 25. This will do. Okay, moving up a bit in size, we have kind of a medium size, but not huge. This here is a 55-gallon tank. Most aquarium shops or aquarium hobbyists will mostly use a 55-gallon because one is they're pretty large, not too big, but they're big enough to fit most types of fish. You can put a school of small fish, or if you have big fish, this size of tank would be pretty much suitable for any type of fish, but I would recommend mostly this tank would be for medium to large fish, say like catfish, cichlids, or if you have like fish that are within like 5-6 inches, 4-5-6 inches, or a bit bigger, a 55-gallon tank will do just fine. And stepping up in size, the largest size I would recommend for beginners, but I highly don't recommend this, but you can if you want to give it a try, or if you have big space, then I will recommend this one, especially if you have large fish, very big fish. A 75-gallon tank. 75 is a little bit step up from the 55. 75 would do pretty much with any type of fish. Most types of fish will fit in a 75-gallon tank, as long as you don't overstock your tank or put a whole bunch of fish. 75-gallon will do. So they'll fit any type of species, just like the 55. But 25, they're kind of tricky to pick which type of fish can fit, which can't. But that's it. It's already been 8 minutes, so I'm gonna speed up a little bit because we got a lot more to do. Okay, moving on next. Substrate. What is substrate? Okay, substrate. For beginners, what should you get? What is the best type of substrate? For me, it actually depends on a couple factors. One is tank size. 2 is the type of fish you have. And because many different species of fish require different types of substrate. We have aquarium dirt, which is like normal dirt, but for aquariums and fish tanks, and they help you plant underwater plants. Sand, you know what sand is. And then you got pebbles. And I'm here. Hear me out. Pay attention here. Warning. Do not get any of this. You guys see this right here? Do not get something like this. If you see something like this on sale, don't get it. It looks colorful, but these like plastic, rubbery rainbow pebbles don't work, and many brands can be dangerous and toxic to fish because one, even though on the top of the bag or box might say fish safe or something, most brands say that, but it's not true. So pretty much most of these materials are made of like plastic or rubber, which might be okay with fish, but especially if they're rainbow ones, they pretty mostly would have like special colored dye chemicals, which if you don't know how to use these properly, they're gonna kill your fish. So I recommend more natural one, and especially these ones, mostly if you're gonna get them for your kids, maybe you should explain if you're gonna get these for kids. Like if you're getting your kids pet fish, don't get these type of pebbles because they look colorful and nice to look at, but they're not really healthy, and most fish don't like it because it doesn't look natural. So if for beginners, I would mostly recommend pebbles, but this also depends on your species of fish. If your species of fish often eats things on the bottom of the tank, you might need to get large pebbles. This also depends on the size of your fish. But pebbles, I like one thing because they're quite easy to clean. All you gotta do is take a scooper or a fish net, scoop them up, and then wash them with water, dry them, and then lay them out, dry in the sun, and then you ready to use again. You don't need to throw it away most of the time, as long as you keep your fish tank nice and clean. Sand, however, on the other hand, when your fish poop on it, often it would get mixed up and it's really difficult to clean. You can clean it, but I say it's a little bit tricky to clean. Same with aquarium dirt, because it often get mixed up with fish poop and it's not easy to see fish poop and get mixed up. And for sand, when you do things, you do maintenance and scoop them up, they create a lot of fog in the tank, which is not really nice. So for beginners, I would recommend pebbles. They look nice, and just have to be careful with if your fish will see it as food or not. But most fish will know pebbles aren't food. Moving on to tank setups. What kind of setups should you do? Okay, we have 4 different pictures here. This depends on your fish species. Most small fish will fit in mostly any type of tank setup, but maybe not too much of an open water like this. If you're gonna have like a small school of fish, some fish can get scared because when there's not enough plants or rocks covering, they would feel scared and can be threatened easily by predators, even though you don't have them. Even though you don't have predators. Or you could go something like this. Like this picture will be just fine with mostly any type of fish species will be just fine. If they like to hide, they can go in these caves, logs to hide. They can go around plants. But if you have like large species of fish like cichlids or fish that like to stay in a large school in open space, then do something like this or something like this where there's a lot of space on top. Or if you're maybe a bit on a low budget, you can do something like this. Just like buy some fake plants, but you do need to wash the fake plants. Even though they might say they're creature safe, it's best to wash them, dry them out before using them, and pretty much just do that if you're getting it for kids who might not be that experienced, or you're just a beginner, don't want to do this difficult, then try something like that. Okay, moving on. Filtration. Okay, I'm gonna speed things up a little bit. Filtration. What you're gonna want with most types of fish is filtration. Filtration is key to keeping your fish healthy. Okay, when you're gonna buy filtration, there's gonna be, mostly for beginners, there are two types of filtration you can do. One is a sponge filter, and pretty much it's a sponge on a sinkable little platform, and it connects with a tube, which this tube goes through the surface and outside your tank, which connects to like a little air pump. And this one is great for small fish like betta fish, mollies, platies, that they're small and don't like a lot of water current or water movement, while this still provide oxygen and clean the water at the same time. This though, cons about this is that if you use it for a long time, you will need to change out the sponge part right here. You need to take it out, clean it, dry it, and then eventually you're gonna have to replace it because they're gonna get old and dirty. And then you're gonna have another type is a pump filter. Pretty much it's a pump filter. Yeah, it sucks up water through the bottom, mostly through the bottom, goes up through the filter floss or sponge or net, and then it shoots out the water nice and clean. And then most pump filters will also provide oxygen as well, because some people might think, no, getting pump filter is not enough, they don't spray oxygen, but actually just having something to stir up the water all the time, keeping the water moving, flowing, is already providing enough oxygen for most types of fish. So if you're gonna get one of these, you don't need to get one of these, especially if your tank is not extra big. One of these will do just fine. But if you're gonna ask me, which one is better? Well, they each have pros and cons. This one, like I mentioned before, you need to clean it, and eventually you'll need to replace the sponge part. Same with this one. Eventually you're gonna need to change and replace the filter floss or filter sponge inside. And every once in a while, maybe at least I say once a week, you're gonna have to take the whole thing out to clean. Same with this one, but good thing about this one is most brands, they're quite quiet and they don't make a lot of noise. Like if you live in a small apartment, or if you live in a house and you don't want like a motorized rubbing noise, then get this one because they're more quiet. But if you don't mind having a little bit of a noise, and if you want cheaper, then get this one, because this one is cheaper in price, but sometimes if they're quite cheap, the air pump that stays outside, they shake a lot and they often make noise. They make like this. I have one of these before, and one day I was sleeping and then I was wondering what this noise was till I went downstairs and figured it out. It's my air pump. It like shakes so much that it hit the wall, and then it create a little bumping noise like forever. So if you want something a little quiet, get this one. If you don't mind a little bit of a noise, or if you're on a low budget, get this one. Okay, moving on. Temperature. This depends on the country that you live in, and pretty much, yeah, the country you live in. For me, I live in Southeast Asia, which is Thailand. Here I live in Thailand. In Thailand here, mostly all year, the temperature will be around mostly all year, temperature will be around 30 to 35 Celsius. But if you live in, like, say if you're an American watching this video and in the US or Canada or in the Europe, you have winter, and winter there is pretty cold. You can have snow, breeze, and ice. And if you have those types of climates where it gets cold and the water freezes, you might need to buy a water heater, which is not difficult, but I do not recommend you guys boiling up water and pour it into your fish tank. That will automatically kill your fish. I highly recommend if you live in a country that has winter with where it freezes your water or the water gets really cold, then I would recommend getting a water heater, especially if you get fish from Asia, and especially if your fish cannot live in cold conditions, then I recommend you getting a water heater. And there are many types, but mostly you'll have like a it's kind of like a LED light, but it's a heater and it sinks to the bottom. And if you have substrate, you can submerge it underneath and cover it up with the substrate, and then you have like a controller that stays outside, and you can control the temperature depending on your country. But if you live in like Southeast Asia like me, or right now you're going through summer and it's nice and warm, you don't need to get a heater. But if you live in a country where it's really hot in the summer, then I also don't recommend pouring cold water into your tank, especially if you have a small tank. That will kill your fish. What you're gonna do is, to prevent your water from getting cold, to prevent your water from getting too hot, to cool it down, one way is to get like a little fan and then spray it on the surface of your fish tank or pond. Or another solution is to use the water pump, and then just stir the water 24 hours. That would like stir, and then that would like push away the heat that's left in the water up to the surface. And then if you have the fan blowing on the surface, that would also help cool down if your country is really hot in the summer and you're afraid your fish will get too hot and overheat. Okay, moving on. Feeding. This depends on species of your fish. Most fish shops will say just get pellets and that'll be fine. Most fish, they do fine, yes, it's true, but each type of fish have their specific diets, and this also depends on species and the area they came from. Some fish prefer like a veggie diet, some fish prefer a more like a protein-based diet, but most fish can eat normal pellets. Now, when it comes to pellets, there are two types: floating pellets and sinking pellets. This depends on the species of your fish. If you have fish that stay mostly around the mid-level up to the surface of your tank, then you're gonna wanna get floating pellets. But if you have fish that goes everywhere on your tank or stay on the bottom, mostly species within like the catfish family, like plecos, catfish, and fish that stay on the bottom, then get sinking pellets. Or if you have any other aquatic animals that live most of its life deep on the bottom of your tank, then I recommend getting sinkable pellets. Otherwise, they can't get to the food if you get floating pellets. Or if you have fish that mostly eat protein base or eat like live fish, like if you have monster fish like arowanas, alligator gars, red-tailed catfish, peacock bass, like those types of fish, arapaima, you get the point. Like fish are like mostly big monster fish, like mostly from the Amazon or freshwater monster fish that like monster fish. Mostly they're not gonna eat these types of food. These pellets they won't eat. You can if you get them as a baby, you can train them to eat pellets, but mostly they won't eat pellets. They'll prefer protein. And there are many ways to give them protein. One is to go to your local grocery store or nearby 7-Eleven or I don't know, like Walmart or Target, depending on the country you live in. Just buy a pack of like frozen fish, like tilapia, or pretty much mostly any type of frozen bag of fish will do. And if your fish is still small, just what you want to do is just take it out. If you can, cut it into pieces and then defrost them by just rinsing them in water. But don't use the tank water. Use clean water and rinse it. Just defrost and wash it with water. And then if you can, just like shake or dump that water out. And then just take the piece of frozen fish, or like pieces of fish, and then just chuck it in the water. Or another way, like in this picture, these are bloodworms. I used to have red-tailed catfish and they didn't eat pellets. I gave them these and they love it so much. These are frozen bloodworms. They come in like little packs, like ice cubes, and you pretty much just defrost them in a cup or container and then just dump them in. These aren't live, they're dead. They're pretty much like dead worms packed into a cube, frozen, and then you defrost them and then throw them in your tank and your fish will eat it right away. Slurp it up like a noodle. Okay, let's talk about do's and don'ts. This is the last topic on this video. And if you guys are watching to this point, thank you so much for staying on this video. It's about to end really soon. Okay, let's go over the do's and don't. What you can do. Let's start with don't. Okay, number 1, and if you can, take notes. Please take notes if you can. What you're going to avoid and don't do is, number 1, put your fish in direct sunlight. That will kill your fish. 2 is not having a lid or net on top of your fish tank or pond. This mostly if you have your fish outside the house or on a balcony, and if there are local birds around that eat fish, then good luck finding your fish, because your birds are gonna come in and take your fish. So it's best to keep fish safe by putting a lid on or getting a net. And next thing you're gonna avoid is putting fish tanks or ponds inside your house. Okay, this also depends on the temperature of your country. For example, but what you're gonna want to avoid is putting them in an air-conditioned room. But you might think, but why does most, like if you go to aquariums or fish store, they mostly have air conditioning. And there are so many tanks in air-conditioned room. Why are they staying alive? The answer is mostly those fish are born at that place or born in an air-conditioned room. But mostly they do that because most of the time they are kept in a large tank, which large fish tanks can can balance the temperature and maintain it the same every time. But like if you have like a small tank, do not put your small fish tank in an air-conditioned room, because small tanks cannot maintain and balance the temperature, pH level, and many criterias, and then the temperature would change too quickly and then it'll kill your fish. Now let's talk to what you should do. Pretty much everything I just talked about is what you should do, except things that I say don't do and don't do. So that is it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching, and if I get any information wrong, please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you guys want to deep into more specific topics, I will later make more videos on each specific topics based from this video. But from this video will be just a simple basic guide for beginners or pros. Thank you guys so much for lots of subscribers, but come on, we can do better. Come on guys, subscribe and stay tuned. Peace out.